Many people think dyslexia is about backward letters or words that seem to dance on the page. It's an image that's easy to hold on to, but it can stop us from seeing what's really going on. I'm Marie from This Child Can, and I want to take you on a different journey, one that looks more closely at what dyslexia really is. Welcome back. Today we're talking about dyslexia and what dyslexia really is. But before we go any further, it helps to pause and gently set aside a few ideas that many of us have picked up along the way. You might have heard that dyslexia is about seeing letters backwards. It's a very common picture, and it can seem convincing, especially when children are first learning to read and sometimes reverse letters. But that isn't really what dyslexia is. You might also have come across the idea that dyslexia means a child isn't very bright. Sadly, that belief is still quite common, and it can influence how we interpret what we see. But it isn't true. Dyslexia is not a measure of intelligence. There are other assumptions too. Some people think dyslexia is rare, or that children will simply grow out of it with time. In reality, dyslexia is quite common. Children can learn strategies, build skills, and make wonderful progress, but dyslexia does not simply disappear. These ideas matter more than we might realise because they shape how we see the child in front of us. And if we're not careful, they can lead us to misunderstand what that child is really experiencing. So if these common ideas do not quite capture what dyslexia is, what does? The first thing to understand is that dyslexia mainly affects reading, writing, and spelling. It can also affect things like remembering information, processing instructions, using numbers, planning, and organising. This becomes especially important when we think about what children are expected to do in school, because so much depends on reading and writing. Children are often expected to read instructions, read questions, write answers, copy from the board, organise their ideas on paper. Those expectations can create a lot of pressure for a child who finds reading and writing difficult. And because those skills are used across so many subjects, a reading difficulty can end up looking like a maths difficulty or even a thinking difficulty. In other words, sometimes what we see on the page is not the child's true ability. So what might this actually look like in everyday learning? A child with dyslexia might understand a story beautifully when it's read aloud, but struggle to read it independently. They might have fantastic ideas, but find it hard to get those down on paper. They might understand the maths, but misread the question. They might know the answer, but spell so many words incorrectly that the adult looking at the word underestimates what they can actually understand. That does not mean that the child is not bright. It may simply mean that reading or writing got in the way of showing what they know. This is why researchers sometimes describe dyslexia as an unexpected difficulty in reading. The word unexpected is really important because it captures the gap between what a child can understand and what they can show through reading. As we have seen, dyslexia is often misunderstood, and there are a few reasons why. Some of it comes from the myths we talked about earlier. Ideas like it's just about backwards letters, or it means a child isn't very bright, can quietly shape how adults interpret what they see. Dyslexia is estimated to affect around 1 in 10 people, so it's not rare. And because there are different degrees of dyslexia, it's not always a simple yes or no picture. Some children have very clear, obvious difficulties. Others are able to compensate for a while. They may memorise words, guess from context, copy from someone else, avoid reading aloud, look distracted, tired, frustrated, or reluctant. And there is also a belief that if a child can read some words or seems to cope in class, then they cannot be dyslexic. But many children find ways to compensate, and this can hide the difficulty. That can lead adults to misinterpret what they are seeing. They may assume the child is not trying, wasn't listening, is rushing, or simply doesn't care. But underneath that behaviour, there may be a child who is working incredibly hard to manage written language. And this is why adult interpretation matters so much. Because if we mistake dyslexia for laziness, carelessness, or low ability, the child themselves can start to believe that too. And that's the part we really want to protect them from. The key message is this: dyslexia does not define a child's ability or potential. It certainly does not mean a child cannot learn, that they are not clever, or that they're not trying hard enough. It means that some parts of learning, especially the parts involving written language, may take more effort, more time, and more support. And more importantly, it does not change who the child is or what they are capable of. Thanks so much for watching. We're going to be sharing a series of insights and lessons on dyslexia and other SEND issues, so do keep an eye out for those. And if you have experience of dyslexia at home, in school, or in tutoring, I'd really love to hear from you in the comments. What have you learned that might help other parents or teachers understand dyslexia better? And if this video helped, please like it and share it with someone who might find it useful. And subscribe to This Child Can for more clear, practical ways to support children's learning.